Welcome back to the Circle Club Show. I'm here with Corey of What's Next, and we're not going to waste any time. Let's jump into this trailer for next week.
As hand, I speak with the king's voice on this
Oh,
and all
Hightower.
other matters.
Hightower's got the big dog role.
Tomorrow the Hightowers land their first blow.
Oh boy.
Those vipers rule in my father's name.
To King's Landing, then. The sea snake has taken a grave wound in battle in the Stepstones.
Who will take the driftwood throne?
The crown cannot stand strong if the House of the Dragon remains divided.
This is a matter of blood, not ambition.
This is a trap.
Nephews? The threat of war looms.
Sheesh. All right, my man, let's go through this nice and slow for the people, shall we? So,
let's go.
What we see here is Mr. Otto Hightower on the throne, playing substitute teacher here. Don't know if I like that. What about you?
Yeah, I think the first thing I think of is there's times you love a substitute teacher, and there's other times you hate a substitute teacher. You absolutely love them when they just roll in that TV, pop the movie in, shut the lights off, call it a day. Great, man. Great,
Yep.
great for the realm. And then there's the other substitute teachers who just want to do a little too much. And Otto gives me the vibes. He wants to do a little too much.
Definitely, bro. Definitely. I mean, it's like you said, it's almost as if they get to practice what they're going to be like on the throne. Rhaenyra ain't too happy about that at all. This shot right here seems like they're trying to pretend to be sympathetic to the king being ill or not to be able to be on the throne. We know it's a bunch of BS. Look at this. Look at the look on his face. Who is that there? Is that little
I think that's Aegon. I think it only plays to our point of Aemon being a little bit more of a threat, because he looks like he got a little bit more of a growth spurt than Aegon did.
I mean, if you look, Aegon he doesn't look as big or threatening as Aemon, and I think if you're casting something, like, it does happen where the younger brother gets taller than the other. My younger brother bigger than me, but I think this is directly to show us who is really in charge, which is why he's right behind them, almost like I'm looking over your shoulder. And I think Aegon is probably so arrogant in thinking that he's that guy. He's not even considering that his brother may turn on him either.
Yeah, his brother looks like he could put a beat down on him, honestly.
Definitely. I mean, Hightower sitting on that throne, he loves it. Damon, what do you think his play's going to be?
I think Damon's play is just keep supporting Rhaenyra, right? Like, keep providing the helping hand, keep being a good husband. You kind of finally have what you want besides the Iron Throne. If you keep the train on the tracks, you're gonna get on that throne one of these days. So I think Damon is less of a pot stirrer now, and more so is just down for the cause. Whatever Rhaenyra wants to do, he's on board with.
I don't know, man. I think Damon isn't the type of guy to just be like, let me just cruise through the next few years. I think they're together in a sense. Like, they're working together, but like, I don't think he's not as rogue.
I don't think
he's rogue.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think he's conflicting, stirring that pot where he's throwing a wrench into things. I think he and Rhaenyra, when I talk about him and Rhaenyra, I look at them as like just a unit moving forward. I feel like they've always been wanting to be together. So now that they're together, they're not going to be conflicting with each other. I feel like two individuals who are probably very in tune with exactly how they want something to be. And they're just on the same page all the time.
Let's get on the same page. Let's get stuff done. We see here Damon has a dragon egg. So is there a new dragon that has come into play here? Looks wet.
I think that's a sign to potentially the egg that might be for a future kid that he has with Rhaenyra potentially. I think that might be the tease that him and Rhaenyra are having a kid, and this is that kid's egg.
Maybe it's metaphorical too, right?
Because both just Viserys and the younger one already have their dragons. So if they already have their dragons, why is there another dragon egg?
Let's slow that
unless
down.
it's for his youngest daughter who doesn't have a dragon because it just got stolen by Aemon, in a sense.
That is true. That is true. Let's slow this down for a sec. Looks like there's a little bit of a fight going on. So we saw a swing go right there. So that looks like the cousins are going back at it again. You got Jacaerys, Lucerys, Aegon, and Aemon here. And it looks like he takes a little swing at him right there. The next little clip, if we can catch it, let's see if we can. The next little clip here, you see Aemon throwing someone down real quick. So
I think it was Aegon throwing somebody down. It looked like.
No, that looked like. Oh, you're right. You're right. That is Aegon.
Aegon.
So clearly that these cousins aren't getting along here. It's going to start heating up and become a very clear divide. I think what's interesting too is that, you know, when we talk about Viserys, right? Like, who is this guy as a king? When we started out the show, we said he's kind of soft, very emotional, you know, too forgiving. Then he sort of developed a little bit of strength. But I think now he's at the point where physically his body isn't strong. So he's starting to see the, like, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel. And everyone who, you know, has that light at the end of the tunnel, they start to become a bit friendlier, nicer, reflect on life. So I think he may be missing all of the signs of what's going on right now. And the Hightower family is going to try to do anything they can to keep their seat on the throne. That's what I'm seeing for next week, my man.
Yeah, I think this is like I mentioned a little bit in our recap video for episode 7. I feel like the Hightowers are starting to make some moves, right? We got Aemon having taken Vhagar, right? I think Otto's back as the hand, right? But like there's a lot more heads on, I think, Rhaenyra's side. And we talk about how some of these players like Aemon, like Allison are kind of stepping up a little bit with their abilities, right? Compared to what we had seen before. And I think this is as we talk about too in our recap, like Damon and Rhaenyra being together helps validate and I think bring credibility to Rhaenyra's claim, right? So I think this move in the Hightowers, especially Otto, filling in for Viserys while he's really in his last days, is a great opportunity for them to press their case, right? I think there's no better time if you want to. It's like when you want to be the leader, right, at the job, and they're like, "Hey, you're going to be the interim manager right now." It's basically like a walking interview, right? Like you better step up, because if you step up and you do well, then a lot of people might say, "Well, look at what he's doing. It's great, right?"
So let's keep him there, right?
The Hightowers are going to make some type of moves that are different than what Viserys has been doing in power, and it's definitely going to lead to Rhaenyra being a little cautious about her claim being threatened, right? And I think it's going to be ultimately the further move that helps push these sides even further apart and divide that tension clearly.
Yeah, and
the show is about a civil war, so it's
And one final thing I will say before we wrap this up is the Corlys family. They are going to be very, very important to figure out who they are siding with. Now, I believe it makes sense for them to go with Rhaenyra and their side, but you never know. You really never know, because it's all about claim, or what was the intention, or was Damon the one to get rid of Laenor, right? So and all of these things will ultimately be very important.
And this uncle, I think, is this uncle is very vocal about that, especially the blood piece. I think he says it within this trailer. Is like he does not, I think, want Jacaerys or some of the bastard kids of Rhaenyra to take Driftmark, right? And clearly, the mother would rather the daughters, right? But that also
Yes.
goes to the whole point of like, do they want, because they call it the Driftmark throne, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's a little different, it sounds like, than just like a typical seat at Castle Rock, a
Yeah.
seat
Yeah.
at Winterfell, right? The
Yeah.
Velaryons come from Old Valyria, right? So they, in essence, although they're not Targaryens, definitely look at themselves higher than a lot of these houses, right? So
100%.
there, you got almost like a three-way dynamic at Driftmark with Corlys, who just probably wants to put Jace there to
Yep.
keep the name, the highest entity individual, even though he's not really of Valyrian blood.
Yep.
You got the mother who wants to put the daughters there, and you probably have the uncle over here who may be the wild card in the Valyrian family that we might not be thinking about this, but the Valyrian family itself might get split between the brothers of Corlys and his brother. I forget his name. I apologize, but leads to
Damon.
yeah, it leads to them being further divided, which I think to this point, like we've said, the Valyrian house definitely is a key component because
Mm-hmm.
of the way they can control the seas. But if there is some infighting within even the Valyrian house, because as we talk about before in some of our recap videos, I haven't heard the Hightowers when it comes to Game of Thrones, but I also haven't heard the Valyrian. So what I think this leads, I think this conflict with Corlys and wanting to put Jason them there, I think leads to maybe the ultimate downfall of this household. And being really an expense, I guess, to this Targaryen war, because the Targaryens will come out of here, even though they will be extinct at some point moving forward. They
Mm-hmm.
will come out of this, but there will be houses that will lose out on this. And for the Valyrians, right now they're at number 2, so there's only
Yeah.
really one spot to go up, and there's a lot of falling that can happen
Right.
there, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
so look to see what happens here, and I think honestly a lot of the pressure internally is what's going to lead to their fall, not just because of their ties to the Targaryens.
All right. Well, we will see next week. Make sure you guys subscribe and check out because we make new content every single day and we make new Thrones content every single week. We will see you all in the next video. Make sure you guys check out Corey's videos because he's got some great stuff over there. Marvel, Star Wars, you name it. And we will see you all in the next video. Peace.